Okay, guys, we are moving on to the next subject. So, last week we talked about like just meeting nutritional needs, and that's not as fun as what animal digestion is. Animal digestion, it's pretty interesting stuff when we're talking about it, and just how all of it works. And so, what this lesson is going to be about is just kind of going over the basic stuff with it, understanding what the different types of systems there are with livestock animals, and just kind of understanding how those things work. So this one should be a little bit more interesting, and I'll cover what the assignments will look like at the end. So let's get started here. So you'll need to know like digestion and absorption and what those both are, and you'll need to know what the digestive system consists of. So like digestion, it's basically just breaking down feed. There's like mechanical and chemical digestion, but that's what it is breaking down feed so it can be absorbed into the body, so you can get those nutrients and vitamins and fats and carbs and calories and whatever else you need. Then absorption it's taking those digested parts. So it's taking whatever mechanical or chemical digestion that you've done, it's taking those and absorbing it into the body. And, could convert that feed and put it into the bloodstream so it can get to your different organs. So the digestive system, consists of the body parts that's involved from chewing to digesting completely. And it says here the system also moves the digested feed through the animal's body and absorbs the products of digestion. So different species of animals are able to digest certain types of feeds better than others. And we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about four main ones. So the four main ones, or the four that we're going to talk about, are monogastric, which is a simple stomach, which is what like humans are. We have a simple stomach. Pigs have a simple stomach. There's avian, and that's obviously that's your bird digestive systems. Ruminants, which is called polygastric, or they have multiple stomachs. And then pseudo-ruminants, and we'll talk about those, but that's like horses are pseudo-ruminants. So first off, a monogastric is just a simple stomach. And a definition for stomach, and you'll need to know this, is a muscular organ that stores ingested feed and moves into the small intestine. So it moves from the stomach to the small intestine. There's nothing in between. So the stomach secretes acid, and here it says, the acid results in a pH of 1.5 to 2.5. The low pH can destroy most bacteria and begins to break down feed materials. So this is where the process, so food goes into your stomach and it's still food. So that's why when you like throw up, it's because that's still stuck in your stomach, and that's why it looks more like food when you throw up. So a monogastric digestive system, continued. Animals are better adapted to use concentrated feeds, so like grains and cereals, and that's why they can do it in large quantities. They can't do large quantities of roughages, and roughages is like you remember from last week, that's like your hay and that kind of stuff. So examples of monogastrics are cats, pigs, humans, dogs, all monogastric, all simple stomach animals. So, and here's an example of like the monogastric stomach, and you can see here that digestion starts here at the mouth. It travels all along the esophagus into the stomach, okay, and can go to the liver, but it usually goes right to the pancreas. And some people especially in humans, get their pancreas removed and really seen no huge side effects from it. Okay, but there it goes from the stomach to the small intestine. Okay, and from the small intestine, that's where that breakdown really starts, is there. And then it goes into the large intestine, and that breakdown kind of finishes up. And that's when you get rid of like whatever your body can't use. That's what poop is. That is exactly what poop is what your body can't use and has to get rid of. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the avian digestive system. So this is like what's found in poultry, or any bird is going to have an avian digestive system. And this differs from any other type of digestive system. So birds don't have teeth, so they can't chew, so they can't do a mechanical breakdown. And the esophagus, it goes straight from the esophagus to the crop, and the crop is where food is stored and soaked. So they eat, it goes straight to the crop, it's soaked, and then it makes its way to the gizzard. And birds are not the smartest, so like the gizzard, it breaks down like it like is really hard, so it can break down harder stuff. So like a bird might eat a rock from time to time, and they can still digest that because the gizzard will break it down. So the gizzard is kind of like their teeth, but it can break that stuff down. And then digestion for birds is very rapid compared to digestion for like monogastrics, which might take, depending on what the food is, it might take 6 hours or 12 hours or 24 hours, So here you can kind of see just kind of how it goes, and you see how it goes straight from the mouth to the crop there. That's the crop, and that food just sits there and gets wet or gets soaked. Okay? Moves in to this, what they call here's where it moves into the gizzard right there, and just like teeth, it breaks down, and then it moves pretty quick throughout there. Okay, and so like with birds, since they break down food like this, they do not they do. They poop and pee at the same time. That's why it's the color it is. It's like white and like brownish black. That's why it's that color, is because it's poop and pee at the same time. Okay, so polygastrics or ruminants is what they're better known as. They have a stomach that's divided into compartments. So like they have the rumen. Okay, the rumen is the largest section. And this is all important because the rumen contains bacteria and microbes that ferment the food. So like if you've heard of fermentation, it's where it like sits there and sits there and sits there, and just kind of gets kind of gross. It just like ages is what fermenting is it ages. So it's like aging in this rumen. It's kind of speeding that fermentation process up. And it's the first compartment, so that's where food goes into first, is into the rumen. Okay? So, and this is why like cows have cud. Okay? So they do what's called like eructication. They basically will eat something, it'll go into the rumen, and then they'll like basically part of this process of being in the rumen is they'll like burp it back up or kind of spit it back up into their mouth, and they'll chew it again and swallow it. And that's what cud is. Cud is like them just recycling their food again. So they basically eat whatever they eat twice. Okay, so then the next part of this ruminant stomach is the reticulum. Okay, and the reticulum is called the honeycomb because it literally looks like a honeycomb. So then the third part is the omasum, and the omasum is kind of shaped like a small cabbage. It acts as a filter for all materials. And then the abomasum is the last compartment, and it's the one that's closest to like what our stomach is. And it functions kind of like a simple monogastric stomach. It secretes gastric juices that kill microbes that come from the rumen. So if like you're talking about ruminant animals and microbes that live in the rumen, those microbes are symbiotes with the cow. So they will help break down food for the cow because they themselves get that food to process. So they live in the rumen, and they help the cow break down whatever foods they take in. Okay, so the abomasum contains like hydrochloric acid and enzymes that break down feed material into simple compounds. They can be absorbed by the stomach wall and the intestines. So the polygastric, hold on. Okay, so the polygastric system uses feed high in fibers, so they can do roughages, like they can do a lot of hay. That's why like cattle, you know, you may like if you've worked with cattle or worked cattle, or you see cattle on a regular basis, it seems like they're always eating. It's because they can just keep eating and eating and eating because their stomachs are always processing food. So they're good at processing that roughage, that grass, hay, that alfalfa, whatever it may be. They're good at processing that and converting it to build on their own bodies. So like cattle, sheep, and goats, those are all polygastric animals. Deer, elk, those are also ruminant animals. Okay, so, and here's a good little diagram. It starts that eradication. Okay, so that eradication kind of acts like this. So it comes into the big, and you can see how big the rumen is. It's huge. So it kind of does this in here, and then it comes back, and they do it again, and then it goes into the see, and it even has it in the diagram, but this is how it works. And they come in, and then it goes back into here, into the reticulum, and works its way in there, and then to the abomasum, okay, and up and out the small intestine. It's kind of a hard diagram to follow, but that's how it works. That's why, like I said, they eat all the time. You see them chewing cud, whatever. They are always breaking down food. Cattle are always breaking down food. Okay, and here's another diagram. This one's a little better here, but it just initial food, then out it comes as cud and back in, and then here it goes. All throughout that stomach until it finally hits the small intestine. Okay. So last one is pseudo-ruminant. And a pseudo-ruminant is an animal that eats large amounts of roughage but does not have a stomach with several compartments. So like I said, this is like horses. So they don't have extra compartments, but they can handle that large amount of roughage. They have a similar function as ruminants. They can use large amounts of roughage because they have an enlarged cecum and large intestine. So they can hold that in that cecum. They eat forages, grains, concentrated feeds. So like horses, rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, those are all pseudo-ruminants. So if you've ever had like a hamster or a guinea pig or even a rabbit, they eat a lot of hay. Okay, and this is just an easy diagram. So it comes all the way into the esophagus here. goes into the stomach, and then like as it's making its way to the cecum here, it just kind of sits there and breaks down further, and then it makes its way out of the animal. Okay, so what are the major parts of the digestive system and their functions? So digestive system is made up of organs. Pretty straightforward if you've had, and you guys have had like biology, or you're taking it, I think you guys have had biology. So again, the digestive system starts at the mouth where food enters. It starts with that mechanical breakdown, and then it exits out the anus. And so, like anything that can't be digested, that's where it goes. That's the excrement. Okay, and the digestive systems of livestock are very similar in terms of organs they contain. Okay, so the mouth and esophagus. This is the mechanical breakdown, chewing action. Teeth break it down. Teeth break it down small enough to where it can get into the esophagus. So this increases the surface area of feed particles, which aids in the chewing and swallowing. So saliva will stimulate that feed and help it kind of slide down the esophagus. And that's where like salivary amylase and salivary maltase come into play. Those are both enzymes within the saliva. Okay, so the enzymes are substances called organic catalysts that speed up the digestive process. You'll need to know these because there's like salivary amylase, changes the starch to maltose or malt sugar, and then salivary maltase changes maltose to glucose, and that's like every animal, guys. Everything that can digest has that, like those enzymes. Okay, and then the ruminant stomach. There are 4 parts of the ruminant stomach, as we talked about: rumen, reticulum, omasum, abomasum. They do not chew much of their food before swallowing. The solid part of the food goes into the rumen, the liquid goes into the reticulum, then omasum and into the abomasum. Rumen, the solid feed is mixed and partially broken down by bacteria. When the rumen does get full, the animal lies down. Then the feed is forced back into the mouth. That's when rumination occurs. That's, chewing cud, spitting it back up, and starting over. Rumination is the process of chewing cud. Cud is a ball-like mass of feed that is brought up from the stomach to be rechewed. So, just some interesting facts for you. Cattle chew their cud about 6 to 8 times per day. So they're, like I said, they're ruminating. They're breaking down food all the time, and then that totals up to like 5 to 7 hours a day. So they are spending like almost half their day in rumination. Okay, rumen and reticulum contain millions of bacteria and protozoa. That allows ruminants to use large amounts of roughage. These bacteria can change the low-quality protein into amino acids needed by the animal. That's why we eat cattle. Basically, I mean that's the main reason, because they can take low-quality feed and then themselves convert it to be high quality. And like, so when you're eating a steak and it's high in protein, it's because that animal converted the low protein into a high protein. Amino acids, you'll need to know, compounds that contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. Those are essential for growth and cell maintenance. And then bacteria can produce many of the vitamins needed by the animal. That's another good thing for ruminants, is those bacteria can provide those vitamins. Okay, a monogastric stomach. when feed enters the monogastrics of the abomasum, it's that same thing. It's of ruminants, the abomasum and monogastrics. Fluid comes from the gland walls of the stomach. Juice contain 0.2 to 0.5% hydrochloric acid. And that acid, it takes that amylase from the mouth. And then the gastric juices contain some other enzymes like pepsin, renin, gastric lipase. Pepsin breaks the proteins in the feed into proteases and peptones. The muscular walls of the stomach churn and squeeze the feed. Liquids are pushed in the small intestine, and then the gastric juice acts on the solids that remain in the stomach. Okay, and then the small intestine, the whatever is partly digested, leaves the stomach and enters the small intestine. It is an acid, semi-fluid, gray, pulpy mass that's in there, and it's called chyme. Okay, in the small intestine, chyme is mixed with 3 digestive juices: pancreatic, bile, and intestinal juice. Pancreatic juice is secreted by the pancreas, contains enzymes, trypsin, pancreatic amylase, pancreatic lipase, and maltase. Okay, same thing there. Trypsin breaks down the protein, not broken down by pepsin. Some of the proteases and peptones are broken down by trypsin and peptides. Proteases, peptones, and peptides are combinations of amino acids. Proteases are the most complex compounds, and peptides are the simplest. Lipase works on fats in the feed, and it changes them into fatty acids and glycerol. So that's kind of where the fat comes from, is lipase. The pancreatic amylase changes the starch in the feed to maltose. That sugar and maltose are then broken down even further by maltase, and they are changed to a simple sugar called glucose. So it can change that it can change those sugars into glucose. And then bile is a yellow-greenish alkaline bitter liquid produced in the liver. That's what your liver does, is it produces that bile, and then it gets stored in the gallbladder, except for in horses. It aids in the digestion of fats and fatty acids. So like I said, remember, you can get your gallbladder removed and be okay, because it's not the only thing that breaks down the fatty acids. And then it also aids in the action of enzyme lipase. Okay, we'll talk about intestinal juice. It can contain peptidase, sucrase, maltase, lactase, all enzymes that are used in digestion. Proteases and peptones are broken down by peptidase into amino acids. Starches and sugars are broken down by sucrose, maltase, and lactase into simple sugars: glucose, fructose, and galactose. The cecum is another word for cecum is blind gut, found where the small intestine joins the large intestine. So it's that like connection right there. It's a small organ and has little function in most animals except the pseudoruminants, so like horses. Remember, they have an enlarged cecum so that they can store roughages better and digest those better. And then there's the large intestine, kind of at the end of the trail. The large intestine, it absorbs water. That's the main function. Material not digested and absorbed in the small intestine passes into the large intestine. And that's called feces. So this is your poop. And its material moved through the large intestine by muscles in the intestinal wall. The undigested part of the feed passed out through the anus, and that's the end of the large intestine. Okay, so things to remember for this lesson. What are the various types of digestive systems found in animals? We talked about 4 of them. And then what are the major parts of the digestive system? And that's that last half of this lesson, is the major parts. Okay, so I know this video went long, you guys. This lesson did, but what I am gonna do for our assignments this week is I'm gonna give you one short assignment on Tuesday and a quiz assignment on Thursday, and that's it. And I'm gonna try and keep to that type of schedule from here on out, guys. I don't want to overload you. I don't want to overload myself. We're as teachers. I know it's hard on you guys doing this, but as teachers, we're working. It's a lot harder to be doing this from a computer. So I want to make this easier on you guys, and I want to make it easier on myself while still trying to, achieve what we're doing here, and that's to, keep learning. So that's how I'm gonna kind of operate, is maybe 2 assignments a week and nothing more than that from here on out. I don't want to overload you guys because I know you got other classes and it can all run together. So just be paying attention for those assignments. They'll be posted with this lesson, so you guys will be good. So if you have any questions, like always, shoot me a text or send a message through Wisdom or whatever. I'm pretty good about getting back to you guys. So just let me know if you got any questions on anything, and I'll try to help out the best I can. Sometimes on those discussions, I found out I don't get I may not get your discussion back because it Wisdom flags it for an inappropriate language, but the language is like not inappropriate. It's like, you may have said like speed or ice or something, and they flag it because they think it's offensive language, which is kind of ridiculous. But Jill usually sends me that stuff if it gets flagged, so I'm able to grade it. So just if something doesn't come through, just let me know and I'll check with Jill. So if you guys don't have any questions or anything, just get the assignments done before Saturday. So with that being said, guys, that's it for this week. We'll talk to y'all next week.